phasing.
Yeah, so like, we're more or less in phase. Anyone who has more experience than me in this field will be like, bruh, I don't know what you're on about. Like, there's still a really bad amount of phase. But like, if I move the mic like this, you'll start to hear, like, see how like it's starting to pick up both of our voices, or at least my voice on my end and your end.
It starts to have a weird. Well, I mean, the interesting thing is that. Like in guitars, sometimes that's a desirable effect.
Mm-hmm.
Get that, the phaser and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's funny. I was recording, a really, really rough, maybe not necessarily really rough, but intentionally rough recording with a friend. And it was like phasing, but at the end of the day, we kind of liked how it sounded. And I was like,
ultimately, as long as it's like the sound is what you want and you like it and it's not causing problems, then fucking go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So have a sip on some tea. Yeah. Because, like, in any other production, that would have been a huge no. Mm-hmm. But this one is just kind of in the spirit of like reckless abandon.
All right.
So it's like, oh yeah, fuck it, out the window. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a comedy. It's like a comedy project. So it's like the objective quality is not as much of a priority.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But yeah, welcome to the Tea with Mikey. We're at you live from Taylor House Records with Kenji Yamasaki.
Howdy. I'm Kenji.
We're sipping on some tea. What is this?
It's Tazo?
Elderberry blackberry tea. Pretty nice.
I used to, start my morning with this if I woke up in time.
Nice.
But now I'm at the point where it's like my dog wakes me up 5 a.m. I take him outside to use the bathroom. I go straight back to bed until I go to work. So not as effective anymore, but it's still good taste.
Dogs are really great natural alarms. For better, for worse.
They will make sure you're awake.
For
on
real.
Their time, though. Not
true.
my time.
Yeah.
My partner, she was actually supposed to head to the airport yesterday at she was supposed to arrive by like 5 o'clock. Or no, by 4 o'clock. So that way she would make her flight at 5:30. And my dog starts waking us up, and we had alarms and everything, but like we were exhausted the night before. But then my dog starts waking me up at like 5:10, and I'm like slowly coming out of it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Get up, we need to go. And then she's just like, Kenji, like, it's too late. I was like, all right. So we booked our new flight, and it was good. But needless to say, Frankie's on his own time. My dog's name is Frank Ocean.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
For anyone listening, he's got a dark coat with like bright white eyes because he's half husky and half Akita. And the Humane Society already had that name for him, and it made sense as a musician to keep that name. So they're like, all right, well,
that's true.
Frankie,
he's got those eyes. He's got those piercing eyes.
So beautiful.
They see into your soul. But yeah, cool. So Kenji, who are you and what do you do?
That's a great question. Hi, I'm Kenji. If anyone has ever been around me for the past 23 years, they've heard that in every class and seminar in their life. I'm a recording engineer, live engineer, also training to be a systems tech for production companies. Nice. I just got done with my acoustics training, so for anyone listening that's familiar with that, I'm not fucking around. Like, I'm trying to definitely get out there in the field.
So acoustics.
Yes,
what is
acoustics? It's a French company.
Oh, I see.
Whenever you go to like festivals or big concerts, you'll probably see like those huge arrays of PA. Good chance that's either DMB or Yamaha or not Yamaha, EV, or if they've got the money, like acoustics.
Nice.
DMB is probably their closest competitor as far as I'm aware, as I'm learning these things, but. Yeah, no, they're really cool because of the fact that it's like everything is just all in one. I don't have to worry about like a mismatch in like the amps or like configurations, whatnot. It's just I have these SB18 subs, and I've got the Kara 2 system flying over everyone. Here's my preset.
Nice.
Amp takes care of it. I used sound design to make sure everything's good to go. And it's just smooth sailing. I just mix from there. So as long as like I use the checks and balances while everything's getting set up, like it's really hard to mess up unless you're not qualified to operate on it. So
Yeah. Nice.
yeah,
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of some.
Yeah.
Mastering engineer is not one of them yet.
That's a whole thing though. I feel like a lot of these skills are something that's developed over decades. But yeah, I'd say generally all around audio.
Yeah, I like to be an engineer or a producer, you know. Still
Audio
trying to
engineer.
understand what it means to be a producer because I feel like everyone has their own definition of it. But
That's so true. Because like sometimes a producer is like a co-writer. Sometimes a producer is just someone who's there to like oversee the recording. And like there's such a wide range.
Yeah.
You know? But you know that's also the beauty of it. You know, because I think sometimes as a producer you're taking on that role as like, okay, like what do I need to do as a producer? Do I need to be a little bit of a co-writer? Do I need to push in this kind of direction to help that vision be come to fruition?
and like with that kind of foundation of it, that's where I see myself as a producer in the sense that it's like, you know, it's like a conductor. Like you're keeping
agreed.
the musicians in check. You know the goal. You see the vision, and you're trying to corral them in the goal that they want. Because you know when you're in the pit, like you don't have the big picture. You only hear yourself, and sometimes you hear too much of yourself or not enough.
Yeah.
And that's where the conductor or like the producer is there to help out. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
But lately, I've been watching a lot of those Instagram ads for like beat making. And I'm just like, maybe I should start bringing my MacBook to work and just like on my lunch break, just start making beats and whatnot. But
That's fun. But yeah, I like I guess with that also I think we should discuss the signal chain that we're running through here.
yeah, so for audience listeners, we don't have a video recording of this, but for the audio listeners, I've got a UA Apollo X8 interface that's pretty much feeding everything at the moment. Whenever I'm doing like live recordings or like an actual like music recording session, I've got a Soundcraft Spirit console from like the 80s that I use. And so I'll start the microphones into that console, send that into my interface, and then do a little bit of plug-in magicry inside the preamps of that, and then pumps out into my Atom speakers.
And we've actually recorded a track through that console.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I'm looking forward to recording more tracks through that console too.
Oh yeah, and now with that rack that I just got from work, like it'll be so much easier to transport instead of just hauling it and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a huge help having that console. Like it's over encumbersome and it's not really meant to be transported in the way we're handling things, but like we like little guerrilla style, little DIY.
Yeah, I feel like we're both in that guerrilla phase. I really do want to get into like a studio, but I still have a special place in my heart for like DIY kind of things.
There's just something magical about like literally creating the space, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've been in a couple like local studios and they're super phenomenal. Like all of them are great except for one. One of them can go fuck themselves, but not naming names. But like the idea of it is so like intoxicating as a musician where
for real.
after a while for me it just got to a point where it's like, okay, everything is super clean, super dead, and it just felt a little too corporate, even though like it's not. But it's just like I personally like the more like creative aspect of like how like, you know, when you're sitting with a buddy with a guitar and just singing to each other like lovers in the distance, you know, like there's something more magical about that than showing up and like, all right, next track, all right, next take, no, we're scratching that, do that again, and you're just in a box with some headphones. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it has its place for certain productions, but for me, which is why I even created Taylor House, is that I want it to be like almost like a non-surgical studio, right? Or non-invasive surgery.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of attribute it, like the goal of this is that you show up and it looks like a normal house that you could literally be just Airbnb-ing at, right? But like, have the patch panel underneath the couch, you pull it out, plug in what you want, hit record on the Mac, and then all right, there you go. And then when the engineers are in house, they're inside the control room because still gonna need like the one room that's treated for that. But like having everything just feel like you're at home, like you're in the vibe to create, instead of this like surgical A to B. All right, let's redo A prime. You know what I mean? Like, gotta keep everyone comfortable.
Yeah, sometimes you need a sterile environment, but at the same time, I absolutely love the a DIY environment, an at-home environment gives it so much less pressure. And sometimes as an artist, like we've talked about, this art form, any art form, has so much variability to it. So it's just kind of like figuring out what that individual artist needs. And if that individual artist does not like working in a higher pressure environment, like a studio, where it's like, okay, you've paid for this time. Like, we got to be as efficient with this time as possible.
Right.
And
like, always still be on the top of your craft. Like, I'll never toss out quality for the sake of like comfort. You know what I mean? But, looking at some of the records that I've been influenced by, like Elliott Smith and like even Tame Impala, like they've recorded in just like straight up houses.
Yeah.
And Tame Impala, like, case in point,
it made
like,
iconic tracks.
iconic bangers that just fucking blew up, and it was all done in his living room. Like, what's the point of a studio these days if like we have access to everything,
I think about the back of the Lonerism album, like it's like the picture of all his keyboards and stuff, so that makes 100%.
It's my little 2 cents as a budding engineer.
Yeah. Because at-home equipment is like really good nowadays. Like even, like there's like a now in between of just like, because like back in, let's say, the 80s, you would have to have, like the big old soundboard. You would have to effectively build a studio in your house. But nowadays, like if you just have an interface and a good mic, you can make a good song. I would think. Yeah.
You could have just, your stereotypical Focusrite 2i2 with Audio-Technica 2020. And like I'm pretty sure that's exactly how Billie Eilish made Ocean Eyes, was that she just sung into AT 2020. So it's like, you can have whatever you can, even if it's your iPhone,
Yeah.
If you're talented enough or even just dedicated enough to like hone your craft, like the polished dream that everyone aspires to have for like that like glamorous studio, it's not necessary anymore. Like I said, in some aspects it might be necessary, but I feel like for a lot of independent musicians, it's just an unnecessary cost to their musicianship.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, granted, I always say if you can go for it, do it at least a couple times, because it's still a fun experience, because it's just like all new. But once you start to kind of get a vibe for it, like just buy the equipment or rent it even. It's cheap.
True.
It's significantly cheaper, I found out, to just rent the equipment than the space sometimes.
Yeah.
But as you know, the hardest thing to record is drums. That's just because of finding space.
It's having the space for drums. And, I love recording drums. I want to record drums, but I have kind of seen the light of like sequencing drums. As someone in a project with a great drummer, though, is like, that's not fair.
He just needs to learn his part.
Oh, we're working on it. He knows his part. The magic of it is that it's a little different every time, and that's a nightmare for a studio.
For better or
audience.
worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
But no matter what, it's phenomenal. Like every time he does
Exactly.
it sounds good.
Yeah,
It's like, all right, can you do it again? No. What do you mean no? Now. I love him though. He's one of my favorites.
Shout out Nick.
We love Nick.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, I forget. I was gonna add on something. Oh yeah, so I think with the AT 2020, I got that start. Like some of the very first recordings I did were with Focusrite interface and probably like SM57. But yeah, it sucked.
I mean, we all start somewhere, right?
I know, right?
Like,
you had to start sucking before you are actually like good at something.
Yeah, it's just par for the course, Like if you start off great, it's like, all right, well now that's your frame of reference. You have to jump even higher, know. So it's like, I don't know. Don't be afraid to try new things. Like I'm trying to relearn coding for the umpteenth time because like one of my coworkers and I got onto the subject, and the dude is super phenomenal. Like, shout out to my boy Trent because he has been the most supportive with my like interest in that shit. Because the entire time I was at ASU, the whole coding program, it was just like, no, we can't talk to you. If we talk to you, that's cheating. It's like, all right,
that's
yourself.
So weird. I don't get that. There was so much like
on the one hand, I understand because it's kind of like if I'm telling you how to write that piece of code, like that line, then inherently that's no longer my thought. So like on the one hand I understand, but it's like just throw me a bone, just point at it and be like, you're doing something wrong there. That's all I needed. Nope, nothing. But yeah, you gotta start somewhere. Like we 100%. All suck.
You have to suck at something before you can get good at something.
And if you're already good, get better.
That's true. Yeah. And with that also being said, the equipment does not matter at the end of the day. Like we've already been talking about that, but if you can't make a good song with bad equipment, you can't make a good song with good equipment. That's the important thing.
It's like there's I think it's either Japan, China, or Korea, one of the three, where like they'll polish dirt into like a ball, and so it's like you can make the most beautiful polished dirt. It's still dirt. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But it looks great. It's just that's dirt, But it's like maybe a different application because like if you ever look at them, they do look gorgeous. Like I always think they're like stones, but it's like no, that's dirt. It's like oh, whoops. But like to go with that, it's like you could use all of this fancy equipment. You can have all the things in the world. You can have the bad case of gas. But that's not going to fix your problem of trying to improve. Like, you've upped the quality, but you haven't raised the standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I saw a lot of gas at the music school, I feel.
There's a little bit of gas, but I would say a lot of the students are pretty conservative with, like, what to buy.
The nice thing is the rental, though.
Yeah.
Where you can like go in and like actually get something.
God, just please learn how to wrap fucking cables.
Oh yeah, because you worked there, huh?
Yeah, I worked there for a year or two. I can't remember, but part of being in the music school is that that's where you have that growth to learn. Like I'd rather to make mistakes there than piss off someone out in the world. Fair. And then they get blacklisted because it's like, oh, good job, you just pissed off the engineer and the production manager because you thought it was cool to show up late. It's like, no, you're not coming back, we're not calling you back.
Yeah.
And it's like, but all of this to say is that working at the college, like I would try and help out students to be like, all right, like I know you're trying to check this out and you've got like 2 minutes to make it to class because you weren't good with like timing and whatnot, but you still need to learn how to wrap this cable. I cannot take this until it's wrapped. And it's like, on days when it's like super busy and there's like stressing, it's like I'll show them how and do it for them, but I'll always tell them like, learn this, you can always come by, I'll watch you, I'll help you, but please just learn how to wrap your cable.
Yeah.
But over time when I would see returning faces, like they would get better at things. So it's like they took to heart like what I was saying because I wasn't going about it in the asshole way because it's like no one wants to be an ass or no one wants to deal with an ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
for real,
you could still be stern and provide helpful criticism that's not detrimental. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I feel like the nature of criticism lately is so it's very difficult because how do you because a lot of people can take even light criticism as an attack, you know, and it's like, because there's so many reasons you can dive in so deep into that.
I also studied that in college too.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you knew this, but I have a minor in communications.
Oh,
So-
nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why like having an approach is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to like interpersonal communications.
Yeah.
You might have the best of intentions with what you're talking about, but depending on your approach, your demeanor, even like not the way you say it, but like maybe the word choices.
Yeah,
you
like
use.
the verbing.
It might
verbiage.
be, and geographically, there was some miscommunication with me and my mom the other day because I used, I forgot what it was, but like I used like something that's like very normal in America, but for her, she doesn't understand that because she's Japanese and everything. So she was just like, what? Like, why would you talk to me that way? It's like, no, mom, like, So like my approach was fine. My demeanor was fine, but geographically our understanding of the language
Yeah.
was different. So
Yeah, there's still
you know.
like a cultural.
So it's,
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of understanding like who you're talking to, and it's not
That's
to
true.
say that you're putting on a face.
yeah.
It's just understanding that you're enjoying the conversation or you're trying to start a conversation, but maybe this person that you've just met might not be well with like being crass with them right up front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah.
build up to that, but you never
Yeah.
want to start
Yeah.
off with that. Gotta set the bar.
That's a good point too. Like you can know who you are talking to and know the differences that are there without putting on a mask and not being yourself.
And if you don't know how to talk to them or you really need to just kind of hold in your thoughts, sandwich method always works. Well,
Okay.
sometimes works.
Can you give a little rundown on the sandwich method?
So like let's say, Mikey's recording his guitar for me, right? And it's like and it's not good. Like I'm just not having it. Like he needs to do it, but he's really into it, right? So like the sandwich method, I'd be like, "Hey, that felt really good.
Bro,
How'd you
this is
feel
so
about
awesome,
that?"
bro?
And so, I'd be like, "Hey, like, how'd you feel about that?" Yeah, that did feel pretty good. Let's, I wasn't really sure about, your bottom strings there. Can you like tighten up a little bit, and then we'll see where it's going. But like, we're making good progress, right? So it's like positive criticism or critique, and then positive comment to close it.
Okay.
Not something I learned in college, but it is something that's discussed.
true.
It's like the sandwich method. You start off with something that was good, you provide something that can be helpful, and then you close it with something good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because I think that is one of the things that I struggle with because I don't know how to make criticism not sound
Harsh.
harsh. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the time I just stay silent.
That's probably one of the scariest moments where it's like, what do you think?
Start sweating.
Okay. Should I do that again? Yes. Okay.
And here I am again. But I feel like when I was in music school still, there wasn't much room for criticism too, where it's like, okay, clap. And then that's it. It's like, oh, that was great. But how can you improve upon it? And then there's
Yeah.
silence.
It did feel weird at times because it's like, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation, and it's kind of coming back to like you don't know where everyone comes from,
Yeah.
Like when I was taking vocal lessons in like the class setting instead of the private lessons.
Were we both in that class?
Yeah, we were
With Nick?
Yeah. And it's like, there's that one kid who I will not name, but they were phenomenal in the class where it wasn't really intended for people who clearly should just be in the private instructions. And it just felt kind of intimidating because that was like all the attention's on that individual. And the instructor is just focusing on them. But, they wouldn't feel a second thought to like provide criticism. You know what I mean? But it was always like supportive. So they were
Yeah.
always good about that. But
Yeah.
it just felt like well, shoot, if this is what I'm dealing with, then like, how can I say anything? Like, I have no place to like offer any advice. But it's like, we were all in different points, you know?
Yeah.
From like someone who absolutely cannot sing and desperately needs the class, me, to like the best person in the class who honestly didn't need to take it. You know what I mean?
That is one of those things that's like really interesting. I think just with school in general is you do have that big wide range of people that can be funneled into a class, and how can you even like differentiate that? Because I got put into like the beginner production class when because I had not been producing in this specific way, but I had already known how to make songs on the computer for years.
Right.
You know? So it's just like, I could definitely catch up, but then with all the emails, they're like, sorry.
Yeah. I got pretty lucky. I got to skip out of the first one.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, the instructor asked me, like, can you do this? Can you do this? Do you know what this means? All right, just fill out the form and I'll put you in the next class. So like, all right, sweet. So I got really lucky there. I felt like I got pretty lucky throughout the entire program, you know? So
yeah, for sure. I think again, maybe the communications helped too, because like that might help you navigate. Because I feel like what's the saying? Luck is opportunity plus preparation. So you had that opportunity, and you also had that preparation that might have given you a little leg up. You know,
maybe.
Yeah,
that would explain a few things.
Because I think a lot of the time is also just knowing how to say something in the right way. I've been playing way too much Fallout. It's like the speech check, you know, given the see if it works, but.
Yeah, you've got like Constitution 60, but then your speech is like 12.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I wonder what my speech stat would be in real life.
I wonder what mine is.
Yeah. It's either, because I feel like, getting on that RPG shit, but yeah, having like either really high charisma or really low speech, or vice versa. Right. Really low charisma, high speech.
There's definitely a lot of people in the program that were like the high charisma, low speech, and vice versa.
Yeah, I feel like it's very common, but yeah, I don't know.
It was fun though. I definitely would do it again.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have done it later. Yeah, if that makes sense, because like I had already been so burnt out. Just straight out of like high
coming
school.
In.
Yeah, out of high school. And then I had already done a couple majors, like tried out a couple majors that were not working out for me. And like that, by the time we were doing the popular music major together, that was my third major that I was trying out. And it was just like, it's like I wanted to go out in the real world and do it.
I feel you there. Like I started off with communications, and then because that was the only program that was available for me in like the satellite college I was at, because it was still in the university, but it was just a remote one. And then once I moved to the main campus, I was doing computer science, and then before my first calculus exam, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I just dropped out. And I was like, well, shit. I don't know what I'm going to do now because my parents are going to murder me. And then I found the program. And that story, have I ever told you about like how I got into the program?
I don't think so, but this is a good time. So
it's funny because like when I found out, I was talking to counselors, but like, hey, I really want to do music production. Like that's where my heart is and everything. Not trying to sit at a desk coding for 20 hours plus. Exaggerating, but and I was originally applying for the I forget what the name of the program is, but basically like people think this degree is like music production, but it's not. It's very much like an engineering program with music production elements in it. But by the time I was talking to the counselor, they told me that there's this new program opening up, the popular music program. The deadline was today. You have 24 hours to make the late deadline. So I had to scramble for all of my shit, get like 3 references, one of which wasn't even technically eligible because it was just my friend, but she was like, yeah, I'll pretend that you were my tutor for Japanese class. I was like, all right, sweet. And got all that submitted in, and I like every day I would go talk to the receptionist at the Gamage building, and super helpful, super friendly. And then the day of, like, you would get a notification that, like, hey, you've been accepted to do the, not rehearsal, what's it called? Like the trials. I can't think of the word off the top of my head. I don't have enough tea in my system. But yeah, like there was like the rehearsal to see if you would be a good fit or whatnot, right? And
Audition?
The audition. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of that word.
That's fair.
But the day of the audition, it's pouring rain in Tempe, right? Like
Not common.
pouring. And it's like early in the morning for my audition, and I look out my window. I'm like, I need to walk out there with my laptop. Keep in mind, I didn't have a car at this point in my life. I still don't have a car at this point in my life. But I need to go and walk across campus because I live just on the other side, and that's a 15-minute walk. And so I put on like 3 jackets, like 1 on myself, 2 around my backpack that had my laptop in it, and I put on my rice hat because it's got a large brim.
Is
that
the rice hat?
Yep,
you speak
that's
of?
the rice hat right
There's
there.
A rice hat right behind it.
I refuse to toss it. It's seen too much.
You got sentimental.
Yeah. Kept me disguised when I tried to get out of a riot in LA once.
That
That was scary. But yeah, no, like I had to run across campus hoping to God that my laptop wouldn't get fried from the water. And luckily I put like a towel on top of it, which I'm glad I did because it was starting to soak up a significant amount of water. And then showed up, did my audition, just hit the space bar on my laptop to play the songs I've done, and they're like, all right.
Nice.
And then like 2 months later, we're still waiting, and then they falsely sent out an acceptance letter to everyone, and they're like, sorry, no, ignore that. But then like a week later, I actually got my acceptance. So
That's crazy. I feel like that has happened surprisingly often. Where,
Really?
like the false acceptance letters get sent out.
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen it. It's like that Doofenshmirtz quote. It's like, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it happened twice.
Right.
But yeah. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole college experience is very. I think it's important for people to experience.
Yeah.
In general,
Like
but,
I would never waste my money for a program.
yeah.
Like a music program, but I would take that opportunity to like if I had like scholarships, so I didn't have to pay for shit.
Yeah.
I would absolutely do it because having the resources readily available for you, having faculty that actually care about you to succeed,
Yeah.
that was worth it.
Yeah.
As far as the degree, like people laugh at me when I'm out in the field, being like, "Okay, you got a degree in music school. That's cute." It's like, all right, I'm not bringing this up ever again.
Yeah.
But needless to say, like it gives you a room to like grow and not feel insecure about that growth.
Yeah.
Because it's awkward. It's like your middle school, high school years when everyone's an awkward teen going through hormones, figuring out what the hell my body's doing right now.
That's
it's like,
true.
No one wants to see that,
I feel like a lot of the time that age is like, you go into college in the first couple years, I'd still consider like 18, 19 to be like a child.
Yeah.
Like I did not feel like an adult until I was like 21, maybe.
And even then, when I was 21, COVID hit. So I was like, well,
That's
shit.
true. Yeah.
A tiny house party, got drunk and slept on someone's couch. And they later told me that they found they found roaches on that couch. Not the night of, but just like in general. I'm like, why did you let me sleep on that couch? But it was a fun time, But it's like very much, I thought I knew everything, and I'm not too far away from when I was 21.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I know enough to know I don't know everything, and I know
Exactly.
I hardly know anything.
Yeah.
But I do know something. It's that weird gradient of like, where am I?
For sure. No, I get that. Sometimes I think about it. if I had the chance to do it over, maybe I would do a different major, something that is not relevant to like anything I actually wanted to do, that maybe would give me space to do what I want to do.
I can
That
see you
even
doing
made any
pottery.
sense. Like a pottery major.
I feel like I could
do
see
some fancy pottery.
or like sculpture.
Actually, that'd be
just
fun.
something with like working with like materials with your hand. I could see you
Yeah.
being like an artist in that front.
Yeah, I like. Honestly, I would. Maybe if I had a chance again, I'd do like try to do like botany or something like that, because I really absolutely love like plants and gardening.
How's Terry doing?
Terry's doing all right. It's hot. It's hot, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think for those listening here, we're in Phoenix. It is crazy hot. It's been we've been going through a heat wave, and it's just been
It sucks.
yeah, it's been really hard.
Like we're Arizona natives, or
yeah.
more or less.
I'm
and-
basically naturalized. Yeah.
Yeah. And like this has been the worst summer so far.
Yeah, legit. I'm heavily considering just moving out at the end of the lease, moving to somewhere else, because I feel like at this point in the way that like the living has become in Arizona, it's not sustainable.
Yeah. Have fun with no water in 10 years.
I know, right? Yeah, no water in 10 years,
Or
and
whatever the metric
heat is unbearable.
Yeah.
Like it will. It is violently hot.
Mm-hmm.
It is violently hot. There's those pictures of the cactuses like flopping over. Like those are
the swirl cacti.
yeah. You know, when the cactuses are flopping over like that, that is a big deal, because like those, like I feel like the cactus as a symbol is like that of resilience, and when that's flopping over, it's like, oh shit.
What's funny is I came across a botanist, or I think he was a botanist, but it was like on my Instagram, like something popped up where he does like the natural reserve for like the cacti and whatnot. Like he's part of the group for it, and apparently that's only unique to Phoenix right now. With the saguaro cactuses dying from the heat, and it's because we're like because of the way that Phoenix is designed, we're a heat bubble with all this concrete
That makes
everywhere that it
sense.
just reflects so much heat. So it's
I had
not,
a feeling it was concrete related, legit.
but it's not reflective of Arizona as a whole.
Oh, yeah,
it's just unique to Phoenix that this is occurring, because that's where all the tests were being conducted, was in Phoenix.
But then you go out to like the actual desert, and I bet it's significantly cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's still miserably hot,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
not killing off the cacti.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
No,
So.
yeah. That's the thing that kills me a lot of the time. I've probably already said it in like the last few podcasts too, but I feel like in Phoenix, people are like trying to live on top of the desert rather than with the desert.
Yeah.
And then with the desert, it would be a little more tolerable, more sustainable, you know, maybe a little less comfortable, you know, because I mean, the native people lived here without AC. They were fine, you know, and I mean, there's so many other like factors and stuff.
Yeah.
Like in the way that houses were built, there are ways that you don't have to have a massive energy chugging AC machine running 24/7.
Yeah.
You know.
And I even found out that like the energy companies in Phoenix, like they will pay for you to take like natural plants from Phoenix. So like it's like a effort to like replace all of the, you know, non-native plants.
That's pretty
'Cause, like
cool,
people are
actually.
putting palm trees or whatever in
Yeah,
their
it's
yards. I was like, okay, well, those don't exist here. They're very water heavy.
They're very water heavy, and they're also like really invasive. Like they will pop up everywhere.
There's one down the street that's just growing through the sidewalk. I'm like,
Straight
what the
up
hell?
through the sidewalk.
Like I'm
Yeah,
sure you've
exactly.
seen it come through here. You're like, what is going on? But yeah, like if you look up like whatever your energy provider, like electric company provider is in Phoenix, like they have programs where it's like they will give you all the resources to pick out the tree you want, fill out the forms, and they will deliver it to you, and it's free. And it's just an effort to like replace and just kind of bring back like the native plants in like the local area.
Because that helps a lot too. Because like if you grow native plants, you don't have to water them. You don't have to water them.
It's less energy consumption,
Yeah.
and so ultimately it helps them kind of pump out more energy for like better things, you know. So it's
Yeah.
like the whole like I feel like the reduce, reuse, recycle thing that we were always
100%.
taught in our generation, like we focus so much on recycling that we kind of forgot about like
The reduce-
reusing
the
and reducing. So it's like, there's also other ways of recycling.
That's
It's not
true.
just like throwing in the blue bin and calling it a day, which by the way is wrong. If you're recycling, you need to strip everything off of it. No residue can be on that material, and it all has to be single components. So if you're throwing away your like little Tonka truck, you gotta take apart the screws. You
Wow.
gotta take apart the two different plastics. You gotta take apart that tire rod that's through that thing. Like everything needs to be stripped down if you're gonna be recycling.
Interesting.
And if you're throwing out pizza boxes, no grease. So the way I remember is like if there's a stain, it's not good.
Yeah. Something that's interesting to me is I follow like I generally follow a lot of like maker YouTube kind of like that circle, and something that seems really interesting to me is small scale recycling, where it's
Interesting.
like, oh, I just have a bunch of plastic hanging around. Like I just bought a device that lets me melt it down and turn it into something I can 3D print with. You know, like that. I think that might also be a really good thing. And I mean, because then there's also that whole argument of like there's a small scale recycling and like the small scale environmental impact that like one person doesn't really do much, but like
But collectively, it adds
like,
up.
Yeah, collectively it adds up. That plus like it's not even something an individual person would have that much impact on. Like we're talking like when you're talking about like emissions and stuff where it's like one person doesn't really have an effect on a giant ship in the ocean that's just spewing out gasoline and like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and like soapbox time. But yeah, it's like it's like it requires an effort from everyone, not just the individual. It also requires an effort from the collective. It requires an effort from companies as well.
Right.
And like a lot of I feel like sometimes the companies are like, here.
No, don't get me started on companies.
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
already
like,
know.
Oh, it's your fault. So you'll take the blame for it. But buy our stuff. But yeah. Consumerism.
Gotta love it.
Dude, I just had a weird thing the other day where it's like I drove by a music. Ever heard of Brindley's Music? I don't know. Well, I drove by a music store.
Okay.
I'd never gone to it, and I was like about to stop there and like check it out.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't have the money to spend, so that was the first part. But second of all, it was like I don't need to get any more equipment. And it's and that is the weird thing that I think is like changed in my brain. Is like I have my guitar I got for free over here. I put in my work and time and I put some more money into it. I gave it new tuners. I re-leveled the frets because those were messed up. I mean, because this free guitar was like $100 guitar.
Yeah. It was well loved.
Yeah, but that is kind of, I feel like that's my whole MO right now is it's not about the tools. It's like you can, as long as you take care of your tools will take care of you.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. It's like I'm gonna make that guitar sound really good.
Fuck yeah, you will.
Yeah. So that's the key is, for those listening, it's not about the tools, it's about the artist. Really. So like do the work on yourself, also do the work on your tools before you get new tools.
And if you're gonna recycle properly.
That's right.
Sample
moral of the story.
responsibly.
Sample responsibly. That's a whole other set as well, right? Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like sampling.
It's got a whole history behind it.
That's true. Because it is, in some ways, I liken it to collage art a lot of the time. I love collages,
Yeah.
because it is inherently a transformative art form. But sometimes, I haven't really seen it a ton with collages, but it's like just taking like the whole magazine page and putting it up there rather
Right.
than cutting out a specific part of it and then, like putting it with a bunch of other things you've cut out.
And then there's the whole copyright process of like, well, how significant was that sample that you used, and like
That's
how
true.
much of it were you using, and how close to the original was it that you
Yeah.
were using? You know what I mean? The whole copyright process is such a mess, and it's so outdated. Like
Yeah.
it desperately needs to be like reevaluated. But
Yeah.
if you're
I
just
think
doing
Disney's
it for
not
fun-
going to be able to stop it this time. I think Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah, the Mickey
is-
Mouse law.
Yeah, like Mickey Mouse is going to be out of copyright soon. Superman will be out of copyright soon.
That's gonna be weird.
I think like literally in the next few years. I think it's either like 2024 or 2029 or something. Superman will be public domain.
I don't think my brain can handle that.
I know, right? Because at least on one end, like DC will still be able to use Superman.
Yeah, they have their iteration.
They
that
have their
can use
iteration.
that no one else can
Yeah.
recreate, and that's the thing that a lot of people I think misunderstood about like Winnie the Pooh when that went out, because like now there's that Pooh
Oh, that's
psycho
right.
killer one. And it's like you can use Winnie the Pooh, you can't use the
Like Disney's
iteration
Winnie-
that
Winnie the
Disney
Pooh.
made.
Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So like you can still use the character, use the same attributes of it, but it can't be the specifically same version that
makes
Disney has
sense.
been using.
Because that is one of those things too. Because that's how Disney got like its start. Is using public domain stories.
Yeah, they just quite literally took the Grimm's fairy tales and just
Yeah.
put a fresh coat of paint on it.
Because in theory, that kind of thing is going to lead to a lot more potential
Yeah.
in storytelling. Because most storytelling is just iterating on things that have happened before. Most art is iterating on things that have like
Yeah.
happened before, and that's not a bad thing.
No, I think
That's how it works.
there's this thing that I was reading where like there's only 28 stories ever told in the world,
Yeah, right.
and just everything is some different form of it.
Yeah, it becomes the what is it? The hero's journey kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's a very specific formula for that, or like there's like 3 different love stories that everyone tells.
Interesting.
And like broad pictures, right? But like somehow, some way, you can tie everything to those like generic broad picture stories. And it's kind of the same with music too. Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
many people have written a love song that we know from our own
Yeah,
friend groups? You know,
exactly,
They
like-
will never call it a love song, but it's a love song.
Oops, all love songs.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
gotta love the craft.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's, yeah. Because it's not about what you're saying, it's about how you're saying it a lot of the time.
It always goes back to that. You know,
It always goes back to that. It ties back around.
like how are you portraying your message?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I think it'd be good to take a little second. I'll get some water.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Help yourself.
Take a little intermission.
Put on some Mikey intermission tunes.
That's right. That's fun. Cool. That ice cream truck is like very ominous sometimes if you're just like hanging out.
Oh, it's gone worse. Like,
Really?
So it's playing the Popeye the Sailor Man theme, right? The do 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 do, and I'll stop there for copyright. But like as it drives by, it's just like slowly descending
Yeah.
and detuned. So it's like fucking Chucky driving
Yeah,
by.
exactly.
It's so fucking weird. And then there's like a white albino peacock that lives behind me.
That's true, dude. I saw it. It was like, that was crazy. It's
Like-
like that's a spirit guide or something.
No
you know?
one
That's
believes
like-
me about this stuff. But like,
I have a video of it, actually. I got a video of it.
I'm not crazy. My neighborhood is.
It's
It's
interesting.
just a weird neighborhood, but it's nice, you know. So
It is a weird. It's like a different. It's like a reality bubble. I don't know.
yeah, I feel like I'm in Wayside, you know.
Yeah. That's true. That is like this area of Phoenix, I feel.
Yeah.
I like this is a really nice area though. Like
is very
there's
nice.
there's a lot of things like Grand Avenue. Being by
Mm-hmm.
Grand Avenue is like there's so much stuff.
Oh, yeah.
With that. But yeah, there I guess that I'll mention that too. So there's like a lot of music, a lot of just like art centers in Grand Avenue. One is actually going to be closing this month. The El Charo Hipster, which is like a walk away from here where we're recording, it's a tragedy.
Yeah,
I feel, and I think that there probably could be an effort to like save it, but I don't know what what they're doing. You know, I haven't been super involved with them, but again, I got my start there though, so it's just really, it's sad to see.
Yeah, and like it's kind of with the reality of like, it's kind of like a restaurant cafe-esque establishment, right? Yeah, so it's like already that's like a tough industry to maintain, you know.
That's true.
And then when you kind of add the live music for like local, it's a losing cost, you know.
It sucks that that's how it is though.
Yeah,
you know.
And like my heart is for that industry is to have that kind of local scene, because it's like you're not gonna get anyone else other than studio cats who like don't know how to play live. Yeah. So it's like it's very important to have these like local communities and whatnot. But
and that's not to say it won't pop up somewhere else. I think there's a very high chance of El Charo just moving somewhere else.
Yeah. I think it was like, if I read the post right, it was like the cost of rent was like beyond what they could reasonably afford. Yeah. So it's like, you know, this is the reality with like a lot of business right now. It's just Phoenix is getting expensive. Like cost of living is expensive. Cost of business is expensive. It's like, hopefully we don't turn into another Amazon city, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because this is, I feel like Phoenix is like quickly becoming an LA too. Kind of thing, you know. It's like there's a lot of opportunity here.
There's
like,
immense amount of opportunity, especially for like music, because it's like the music scene is like surprisingly huge here. Yeah. But a lot of people don't realize that because it's so like fragmented even within itself.
That's true. So it is like, also very slow in the summer.
It is slow in the summer.
Like that I think that's part of what killed it. Yeah. You know, it's the summers here, dude. The summers get so slow.
But that's where it's like having those spaces to bring people in. It's like, hey, outside sucks. Come inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like
so important.
Part of the issue that I've been kind of putting the pieces together is that like there's a huge scene, and like, you know, you're part of like the indie rock kind of community. There's a fuckload amount of you guys around here. But like it always feels smaller than what it really is, because no one really talks, and like the people who do talk think they're the only ones, and try to like grow it, and then, you know, someone else comes along not realizing there's already something. So everyone's just making their own little pockets, not realizing like put the pockets together, you know.
Put the pockets together. And I feel like in this, and I can't say I've helped it, but I feel like a lot of those pockets don't get along.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's Arizona.
That's the nature of like networking, you know.
That's
like
true.
It's a small world where like it was weird, because like while I was still at the college and kind of like getting my leg up as an engineer, people that would come in who like work at the venues and already know who my name is or who I am, and they're like, oh yeah, like I know who you are, like your boss talks about you a lot, you can keep doing what you're doing, kid. I'm like, is it good things or bad things he's talking about? But like it's always been like a good effort, but it's like people talk and people know people. Like, you know, some of the promoters I've worked with, they know a good chunk of people that I already know, or like they've heard of me through mutuals. So it's like, it's one of those things you want to make sure you maintain, you know, good relations with everyone, but like be upfront when there's a value that's like being disrespected, you know. So it's like, don't work with people who are going to trash what you know, protect. But at the same time, understand that like we're all technically small businesses.
That's true. That's true.
And it's a sad reality.
It's like
that,
we're in this together.
You know, we're running all these different hats. Like I've got to be a promoter. I've got to be a content creator. I've got to be a musician. I've got to be a producer, mixer.
It's exhausting.
It's too much, you know. So it's like, you know, we all get beaten down. But if you can find people within your community that can alleviate some of those stresses for you, it makes it better. You know, like you don't need to wear all these hats. You know. Yeah. But don't let that deter you from, you know, saving face, because maybe the person you don't like in this industry is actually super fun and phenomenal if he puts on a different hat for you, you know.
That's true. That is one of those things I think that's actually one of the struggles I've been doing. I've been, I've been taking on more and more musicians.
Yeah.
So, I have like the normal 4-piece. My keyboardist is currently living in SoCal, but I'm also now trying to like find spots for string players. So I've been working with string players, and then one of them also like plays guitar and stuff. And then it's like, okay, how am I going to fit you in? I think you can. I think you can fit in here.
Right.
And it's just like, got to rotate the puzzle piece and be like, okay. Because maybe some people actually like to be like, okay, I'm wearing this hat. Sometimes I'm wearing this hat. Sometimes I'm wearing this hat. Because I think that's a lot. It's just like how a lot of these things are able to work,
And it's like, I could be like, say I was part of like the actual like core members of the Enjoyers, right? And you originally signed me on as like the drummer, and then later realized, oh god, that was a mistake,
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not to say that like we're done. Like, you also know me as an engineer, a photographer, or a videographer, so it's like, okay, maybe he's better off with this for me, and like suddenly that relationship that was like awful is now phenomenal,
Yeah, true.
So, and that's where I think some people have issues, at least within our circles, with understanding like you don't have to see them in that light. You can try, like, if you want to maintain a relationship, maybe try a different avenue and see if that works out for everyone better.
That is very important.
It's just like a relationship. Maybe you're better off as friends. Maybe you're better off as lovers. Maybe you're better off as enemies.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to understand who you're talking to.
Back to the back to the start, right? At the end of the day, know who you're talking to.
Yeah, know yourself. Know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And love what you do, too. If there's anything that makes me kind of, like, fall asleep while working, it's just hearing someone who just constantly moans and gripes about, like, social media. And it's like, I get it. We all don't like it. But don't remind me.
Yeah, bro.
Like, the other night, there was someone who was like, please make sure you follow my Instagram and my social media. And, like, I know they need to do their spiel because, like, a call to action is very effective, but I feel like it's not that effective in a live setting because it's like it's not. You're just like, all right, I'm not pulling my phone up. All right,
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, music was great, but it's just like, maybe that worked for you. I don't know how well it is. I don't have access to your metrics, but like, there's better ways to go about reminding people of like, why should I follow you? Just telling me outright like, all right, here's my song. Be sure to go listen on Spotify and like and pre-save my next thing. Link in bio. Like,
I know, it's like, and then you go try to find the song, and then you have to go through like
5 pages,
5 different screens, and it's like that's too much. Because for followers for social media, it's all about that quick fix.
Yeah,
and I don't know, dude. It's
and
just so hard.
Like for Spotify, those pre-saves do help significantly. It
they
places
do,
you on the algorithm better, or so I'm told. But there's better ways of going about it. Like, you and I have actually talked about like different ideas for like music videos.
Yeah, exactly. Music videos. I feel like that music videos, and I think just playing live.
Yeah,
just playing live. There's like, because even if people don't follow you, people will then hear your name.
Or even like, instead of doing content creation, like, oh God, I need to put something out there,
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about like, well, I want to do this thing for the music video. Yeah. Well, I want to do this thing for the music video. Well, Nick wants to do this thing for the music video. I'm sorry, Nick, I keep picking on you, but I feel like you're a safe name to throw out. But then it just came to the idea like, well, what if we just did multiple different music videos, like alternate videos, and I feel like that would be like a way more fun experience for you and everyone involved, even the audience. Like, oh, like, like they did this little goofy music video, but then like the same song tied to a different media, and it's just completely different. Like, it gives you different perspectives, it gives you different content to absorb, but it's also like it's engaging different ways to interact with the piece. You know what I mean?
I heard about that the Radiohead like digital
Oh,
exhibit.
the 3D,
Yeah.
like the VR exhibit. Yeah. I took that. It was
I
fun.
think about that. Yeah. Like I just watched a video talking, like discussing it
Mm-hmm.
the other day, and it's like that shit's really cool, you know,
Yeah.
like doing, because to me, art and content are the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather just make art,
Mm-hmm.
and then the art is the content,
Yeah.
rather than make content to promote my art.
And that's where I
Mm.
think some musicians could be working better on like the whole like YouTube grind, TikTok. Well, I guess it's TikTok now, but like
Yeah.
just like the content creation, right? It's like
Mm.
don't make it obvious that like you're putting this out there so that you could get noticed. You know, like have fun with it, because if you're not
Yeah.
having fun, it comes off
Exactly.
as like
Yeah.
this sterile video that you just doom scroll past. You
Yeah.
know, so it's
Yeah.
like if you're having fun with it, but also treat it as like, you know, if you could hire someone to make the video, what would you want? Like, you wouldn't waste your money, obviously.
Mm.
And obviously, you know, we're working with a no budget method. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, iPhones, whatever's around me. If I could put on my Wes Anderson hat, how can I
Yeah.
like have some fun with the song that I wrote with that in mind, you know?
That's so funny. I just watched Asteroid City the other day.
How was it?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Like,
yeah.
it's one of those ones, it's a movie you should watch twice. Yeah. It's got lots of layers to, like, I mean, it's good for, like, dissection kind of movie.
Yeah, yeah. I get that.
enjoyed it a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah.
Wes
Cool.
Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Put on that hat, you know? Try
The
that
Wes
on.
Anderson hat. Try the Wes Anderson hat, the Steven Spielberg hat. That's funny. So, actually, never mind. There is a I'll go back to it, but I just remember this one time that I took a screenwriting class in high school.
Oh, okay.
It was just like one screenwriting class, and it, you know, took it counted as like an English class, so that was awesome. It was like a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
And like in a fervor, the screenwriting teacher said Steven Spielberg as like Spleen Bielberg. And I wrote it down, and it has forever been in my brain.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna put on my Spleen Bielberg hat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's something I want to do too. You know, like I wouldn't just consider myself an artist. No, I would consider myself an artist. I wouldn't just consider myself a musician.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying hi to Frank. Hi, Frank. You have something to say?
For all you listening right now, my dog is currently staring at us with hungry eyes and a wagging tail.
He's a sweet boy, though.
He's a very sweet boy.
Mhm.
Wakes me up 5 a.m. every day. But
Every day.
if you had to pick like 3 people that influence you significantly, like
Ooh.
in terms of like obviously people that are close to you, but like I'm talking like celebrities or just like anyone that's not within your inner circle, right?
Mhm.
Like, who would your top 3 be?
That's a good question. I literally keep a list. I think one of the big ones is Maynard James Keenan. So he's the lead singer of Tool,
Yeah.
and he has a couple other bands. Oh, there we go. Frank's jumping in.
He likes Tool.
Yeah, Frank likes Tool, I guess. But yeah, so I'd say Maynard James Keenan because he has a winery. He's got like a couple of restaurants. I think he opened a jujitsu
Yeah.
place. So like he does a little bit of everything, and that's kind of how I'm trying to be. You know, let's see. I have I keep a list of people I like to take influence from. You know, it's kind of because there's a difference between taking influence and then trying to be
Right.
like that person or trying to be that person, which
Right.
is I think is two different things. And I think trying to be that person puts you in a trap, and then you become unoriginal. But I think
Right.
you can take influence and then make something that's more original.
Like inspire, not
Exactly.
aspire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where is it? But yeah, I think that I really love Frank Zappa.
Yep. I can
Frank
see it.
Zappa. Especially with like on the music side of things and just like the goofy energy, you know. One of the things is and then the classic I think would be like David Bowie. I really look up to
Really?
David Bowie. Yeah.
I would not have thought of him as your top 3.
I know, right? Like, I like. I wouldn't say he's necessarily top 3 because I have just like a top,
Right. Just
whatever.
as people that you look up to.
Yeah, but I feel like for Bowie is just the energy that he's able to embody in this how he kind of embodies like characters that but are also kind of himself, and just that kind of thing. I it's not so much about the music for him. I think more of how he was just straight up iconic as a person, and just like I love watching like interviews and just seeing him like talk, and like the personality is what I like to take the influence from,
Right.
That kind of thing. Yeah, so it's really interesting. Yeah. Do you have influences like that too, or?
I would say my top 3, in no particular order,
Yeah.
it would be Hideo Kojima,
Oh yeah.
Peter Hook, or not Peter Hook, sorry, Tom York.
Okay.
Tom York from Radiohead, and Keanu Reeves.
Nice.
Honestly. And all for different reasons.
Full circle.
Hideo Kojima for me, just the way he has fun and creates, and just like trying to have different ways to like be creative. He doesn't get stuck in a box, even though he got stuck in the Metal Gear box for a long time.
I feel like what he was also able to do in the Metal Gear box was also
Yeah, like
crazy
people will
too.
always shit on me, like, dude, like if you're such a Metal Gear fan, explain the story. It's like, fuck you, it's complicated. And it's like, well, then it's not a good story.
It
It's like,
requires like 16 hours, bro.
it's like, look, these evil people wanted this thing, and Snake had to go in and get rid of it. But then he realized that the people he was helping was actually the evil people who wanted it. And it's like,
Yeah.
but like you need to put it together. And it's like, it's besides the point.
Well, because it's a story about global politics, and global politics, it's not simple,
And also, he just kept having to like shoehorn the story
That is
because they
true.
kept telling
That's
him
true.
to keep making more.
Make more.
But then, like Tom York, for me, it's like the writing aspect and how he just plays with music, and
Yeah.
like sometimes he has no clue what he's doing, but it works, and it sounds beautiful,
Yeah.
and it always like stimulates like my music side of myself.
That's kind of tying back to David Bowie as well. Is like there's a saying that David Bowie has where it's like if he was likening doing your art to treading water.
Yeah.
Is you don't want to go too far that you have exactly no idea what you're doing, but you want to be in that area where you kind of know what you're doing, but you're in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
And that's when like some of the best stuff can happen. So
It's wild.
it's like that. Yeah,
It's always
yeah.
a fun time. It can be a scary time, but it's always fun.
Yeah.
Or it should be fun.
That's true.
Should be fun.
It should be fun. And a little bit, maybe a little scary.
Yeah, just a little bit
It
scary.
makes it a little exciting.
Yeah.
And then your number 3?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, which
That's
is
right.
like, obviously, Matrix, John Wick,
He seems like a
Silent
cool
Bob,
guy.
and fuck, what was? I always forget the other guy's name, even though it's literally Keanu's character
In-
Silent Bob and
Oh.
oh my god, I'm
No,
blanking on the names, but you know this.
No,
movie.
I'm remembering.
I keep wanting
The-
to say
the-
everything else, but I just know like that's like the movie he got started, But for me, it's less about him being an actor, more so just like how wholesome of a person, how like he genuinely
Yeah, he
cares
seems
for
like a cool
people.
person.
Like every time you read the story about him on the internet, it's just nothing but like being a wholesome like human being, and like
Yeah.
it's helped me a lot with like growing past like my like insecurities and growing past like my views, like what it is to be
Yeah.
my role in life. So like it's influenced me in ways I didn't think it would, because like I don't really care for celebrities at all,
Yeah.
but like there's things to like appreciate, and it's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
if he can live life good, and he can live good, then
Yeah.
I feel like that's good for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone can
yeah,
learn
it's good
something
to
from it.
look up to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for providing the space to record in.
Thank you for having me. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
I know Frankie enjoyed it.
And this has been The Tea with Mikey featuring Kenji Yamasaki.
Bye. Bye.